So as you can see, in the last 1 decade, we've had a playbook, a very clear growth playbook, you can say, which is now rapidly evolving. The AI has hit and it is evolving. And I would not say it's just the AI. There have been a lot of other things that have contributed to it. The cookie deprecation, the ad blockers, but AI has presented a very new opportunity to us. So you'd say, like, why is the old playbook, not as impactful as it was? So because the way we get information about our customers is changing. For years, we relied on client-side browser pixels. Like, we all know how it works. The ad platforms give us a pixel or a code tracking code that we add to our website, and all we get are some numbers on a dashboard, which we try to make a sense of. But as you know, the signal is now severely impacted by these privacy rules, and it's not good for the marketers, right? So how do we do it? Like, attribution today feels like a black box, and how I would say, see how I'm seeing this is not a failure, it's an evolution right now, and we need to learn how to evolve with this evolving changes that are happening right now. So in this webinar, we will start from this problem and find out how this becomes the powerhouse for our performance marketing efforts. Now, before we start this webinar, I would like to ask a very simple question to you. We all talk about Zomato, Swiggy's ads, but when was the last interesting ad or campaign that you saw from a SaaS or a B2B company? I mean, I think all I can think of is ClickUp and most recently Clay. They are the only ones who have been doing some disruptive work in this arena. Otherwise, most of our B2B playbook looks same old ads being shown to all the audience. There is no segregation, there is no personalization. And with AI coming in picture, you don't need a huge agency or a lot of tools or a lot of human power to do this. And this is what we'll uncover as we go ahead in this. With the right set of data and the right use of AI, we can today bridge this gap and we can come up with very interesting campaigns. So how do we solve this? That's our next question. So, I mean, this might look like a very complicated diagram or something, but this is for just a visual aid. What we are calling this is a AI-powered growth engine. It has 3 levers, like how do you make sense of your data, how do you use that data for smarter targeting, and how do you use that smarter targeting for building a persuasion engine that builds trust with your audience, and you can scale and test your ads at a much rapid velocity. It's a framework built on 3 critical interlocking gears, as you can say, and when you get these right, you move from guessing to knowing. Like, you build a sustainable, predictable machine for your growth engine. So now let's move to the first part of this, data. And when we move to data, the biggest data that we have today is our ICP. Again, question to you, like, when was the last time you refreshed your ICP? Was it when you thought of the product idea, or when you launched your first marketing campaign? Or have you not even bothered to create one? Like, I know companies who are building the product for themselves and they don't even bother defining who they are going to sell it to. And I know companies who are working without even an ICP. But even if you have an ICP, people don't care to change it. Wherein your true ICP is revealing itself every day through the actions they're taking on your website. And what are we doing about it? Probably this is the time to rethink about it. For example, like, every founder here knows that only 5% of the people coming on the landing page convert. What do we do about the next 95%? So that's where our lead scoring, so that is what we need to track, our audience behavior, create a robust lead scoring system. And what this does is it helps us identify who is on our website and who is our real customer. So for example, let me take you through a real use case wherein in HubSpot, I see multiple HubSpot accounts day in, day out. HubSpot allows you to do lead scoring at a very granular level. But I think no one wants to work with CRM data, and no one wants to, get their hand dirty. And there is absolutely no lead scoring in place. Then there is a case of de-anonymization, where 95% of the users coming on your website, you don't even know who they are. Then how are you building your ICP or your targeting engine that is going to serve the right ads to the right people? And this is where I think the next step, like today, if you see like tools like RB2B and even ChatGPT. So for example, today ChatGPT has a native integration with HubSpot. You can connect your HubSpot with your ChatGPT account and let it go through your entire account data and suggest you the lead scoring, what cohorts are working, where the sales cycles are best for you, and which ICP is working best for you. And similarly, when you uncover the leads from RB2B, you can use those leads to create a predictive audience. We'll go to that in the next step. We'll talk at length about what to do with this. But at this stage of the first framework, we are talking about what are we doing with the data that is already available, and not relying on what tools like client side pixel based tools like are telling us, like, okay, your audience is doing this and that, rather than having your CRM talk to you, having your so your server side audience talk to you and tell you which audience has the highest intent on your website. So this brings us to a critical point. Since we are talking about,
Neeraj,
yeah,
before you get into more details, I have one request from the audience. Please feel free to ask questions in chat and in Q&A section in this webinar. Right? We will take all the questions like at the end of this webinar. Like, feel free to ask questions. Yeah, please go ahead.
sure, Pankaj. Thanks for adding that. Uh, no, so I was actually now going to a critical point of where I wanted to hand it over to Swati, because we are talking about de-anonymization tools, and Swati, your work at Sprouts AI is right in the middle of it. And so let's take a scenario. After a founder has or a business has identified a high intent account on their website, what is the most impactful thing a marketing or a sales team or a early stage founding team should do with that information?
Right. Thank you so much. I think um, the first piece is getting your ICP correct. So at Sprouts is a platform which comes pre-integrated with a lot of data platforms like Zoom Info, Apollo, and another we come pre-integrated with some 13 plus data platforms, and some of the data is our proprietary data as well. So one of the things that when we work with any one of our clients or existing customers is that ICP definition is not very specific. So when we say industry, and I'll just talk about, say the industry is tech. Now tech is very wide as an industry. Your software solution might be better for a specific industry within tech, say maybe performance marketing. I mean, I'm just saying because we're talking about performance marketing, but granular approach, so wide width and depth of ICP. I think this is the first thing that needs to be solved for before we even get into the account mapping piece. So how wide you've kept your ICP? When I say wide, it is how many variables are you considering? So are you considering geography? And these are the common ones: geography, industry. Then how many employee size, VC funding. That there are too many variables. And then depth is that within these variables, how deep are you going? Granularity of targeting. So within industry, is it tech? Is it non-tech? Then if it's tech, then what kind of tech? Is it service? Is it product? All of that. Now, once that activity is done, then I'll come to what Neeraj was talking about, that somebody's come to the website. Now, there are two ways in identification. Either they have downloaded some content, interacted with you in some way that you have that information, or you put in you're working with Sprouts, or you're working with, say, maybe RB2B or Clearbit. There are quite a few out there in the market, but it depends. Every platform differs in accuracy when it comes to that. So you can actually know who exactly has visited your profile. Now, the de-anonymization of a visitor happens at two levels. One is the account level and one is visitor level, user level. Like contact level essentially. Now at account level de-anonymization, that can happen across the globe. However, contact level is not possible in UK area because of GDPR guidelines. That's the first thing. Also today, contact level like basically accuracy of contact level anonymization is still on the lower side. However, account level de-anonymization is the accuracy is pretty good for most of the tools out there. Some of them are really behind, but some are doing really well there. So what happens is, so once you get it, look at the accounts and look at the contact, both. So even if you de-anonymize contacts and the contact is your ICP. So ICP is ideal customer profile. We should not be stopping when defining ICP. You should not be stopping at account level. A lot of times we have this habit of that we've listed down the accounts and now we are reaching out to 10 people in those accounts. But that also can be counterproductive also. So essentially, have the ICP definition for the exact contact you want to reach, and if they have visited your website, great. Now, so you filter them out. So now that you've defined the ICP, you know who's visited. So do an account level filtering and a contact level filtering. Somebody who on an account and contact level is your ICP. Perfect, great. I mean, you should basically activate all your channels for them. So you should do an outbound. You should see if you can find their email ID so that you can start a campaign with them or whatever, XYZ, and very customized and personalized. The second is that the account is basically your ICP, but contact maybe not so much. It's the HR department. You need to talk to the marketing department or sales head, right? In that also there'll be variations and categorizations in terms of if a junior resource from the sales team has actually visited vis-a-vis a sales leader. So your actual decision maker, the economic buyer, the decision maker buyer is the sales head. So then you do these segmentations, and basis the segmentation of the visitors on your website, you decide on the activity that you do. So the activity, if the activity is like reaching out through email, through LinkedIn, it has to be very specific to the top tier people, actual contacts who visited your profile and from the accounts that you want to target. However, for performance, if you do a account level de-anonymization, and then you add that your ICP layer to it, you basically enrich your data, enrich this information that you have through a database. So again, not like doing a brand integration for Sprouts here, but you can do it with Sprouts, or if in case you want to, you want something which is more easy on the pocket, then I would say Apollo is also a good bet to start with. So you basically enrich this information with Apollo, with contact level. And then there are other databases which also enriches on personal IDs. So we do that. I don't know. I don't think Apollo does that, but it probably does that at a higher cost, right? So why am I talking about the personal email ID also enrichment? Is because it is relevant for performance marketing, because that personal email ID enrichment, because you make your Meta accounts and your Google surfing and all of that happens from your personal email ID. Yeah. But from our side, I recommend always uploading both the personal and the professional email IDs into that targeting list, so that there's a higher chance of the targeted list to kind of click on the ad, engage with it, and slowly the platforms then have a better understanding of the kind of people you want to target. So that's what I would say you would do. Like, so amount of money that you're spending on these prospects would differ depending upon their basically match with the ICP. So yeah, that's how I would want to approach this piece.
That's really insightful. I mean, I would like to add one more question to it, like, and just one more point to it. You talked about the personalized emails. One of the best performing meta campaigns that I have right now is CXO's personalized emails. So, which is a very counterintuitive thing. People think that to reach out to CXOs, we need their professional email IDs. But yes, as you rightly mentioned, they create their account IDs in Meta or LinkedIn using their personal IDs. So the match rate is so high, and you get to reach the right accounts. So that's really nice. And do you think, like, once we have uncovered this data, so is there a difference in the flow? Like you mentioned two things. One is outbound and the other is performance marketing. Do you think there is any difference in how you cater to these two flows? How like which audience would you pick for a performance marketing cohort, and which audience would you pick for a outreach cohort? And or do you do it as a 360-degree kind of an approach and you target them through all the campaigns? What is the approach that you take?
So See, if you have the money in the bank account, 360-degree approach all across, reach out everyone, keep talking, keep speaking, but everything takes money. It all comes down to resources. Though we save a lot of money now with AI tools and all, but it's still there. I mean, server costs. If I want to send out an email, I have to set up email IDs. And now with Google's this whole thing on you can't send more than 40 emails per day. I mean, to be on the safer side so that your ID does not get blocked, you need to stay below 30 to 25 is the range. So there's a whole ecosystem that you need to create around email as an outbound. LinkedIn, you can only do so much because it needs to happen from a profile, and there are only so many emails or so many outbound that you can do from LinkedIn. So there is that obviously that resource crunch that you can't do it beyond point. However, performance is more open in terms of as in like the platforms will get a better understanding the more data you input into the platform. So the platforms are already using AI models, both Google and Meta, to kind of understand targeting, right? And in AI, the basic logic of using generative AI also is garbage in, garbage out. So if you give incorrect data, you will get absolutely shitty responses. So similarly, once you've identified your ICP, and I just don't believe in uploading just the prospect list or somebody who's visited my this thing. I even do an enrichment around my existing customers. We do like similar customer profiles because then the ad campaigns, I think we'll talk about it. But to the similar industry, I talk about in the ad campaign a case study of that industry. So that kind of all of that logical thing happens. So the data that gets uploaded on the performance side for targeting is basically coming in from our CRMs. It's coming in from the enrichment that's happening on the visitors who are visiting the website, and also lookalike audiences which are getting enriched at our level, not even at the level of the platform. So all of that goes into performance. However, like I said, the 100% perfect ICP fit, not the cold ones, but the warm ones, is what goes into inbound to best manage resources.
Perfect. I mean, I think you have summed it up nicely, and this is what ties up to the next part as well. So the bottom line is actually, so data is where everything matters, and if we don't have the data, you rightly mentioned garbage in, garbage out. So that's what is happening in most of the cases. So I'll proceed to the, thanks a lot, Swati. So we'll come to, we'll talk more about this later. I'll just go to the next slide. And so once we have now, you stabilize this and establish this, to that data is our bedrock on which we are going to build this. So what happens when you have this data?